And chat, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to Root Double Before Crime After Days. Yeah, last time I believe we had gotten to, the point where Watase and Enna were chased out by Jun and Ukita. Man, it has been a while. Month and a half. Oh, man, I was supposed to play this at the start of August, but my illness got in the way. And I just could not stream. So yeah. It also occurs to me that we've got Route A, Route B, and Route C, and there's one letter left in the title, so we're probably getting Route D at some point. Oh, man. Damn it. Lost sight of him. Watase and Enna had escaped their pursuers and were now hiding in a room in Area 2's inner ring. Sounds like they're gone. Yes. Natsuhiko gazed at Enna through Watase's eyes. She had a tense, relentless look on her face one would never expect to see from a teacher. Professor, I can believe in you, can't I? Natsuhiko thought about how much he wanted to ask her if he could, but that moment, oh no, what if she kisses him in this timeline? A strange sensation struck him. His 5 senses suddenly blurred. What? What is this feeling? He knew that there should have been light, that there should have been sound, and yet... Why did stick up for back there? Because motives, too. For some reason, he couldn't perceive the world correctly. It was as if he had been struck with intense drowsiness. They're hiding the scene because there are variations and they don't want to canonize any particular one. Oh no, my consciousness is dulling. This? Enna was showing something to Watase. But Natsuhiko couldn't tell what. That's strange. Why am I drowsy? Wait, could this be the BC energy lingering within Watase was starting to run out? Am I disappearing? Disappearing? Me? My consciousness? No way. Natsuhiko struggled to brace his fading consciousness. And rapidly. We do. Moribe and old man Ukita don't trust me at all, you know? Now, so that's why. He became able to understand the subject of their conversation. What? You're not saying you plan to go alone, are you? Of course I am. If you came along with me, with things being the way they are now, all you'd do is make things harder for me. Well, yeah, I guess, but... I'll be right back, so wait here, okay? Apparently, Enna intended to leave by herself. Don't do it, Professor. That's clearly way too dangerous. But Watase showed no hint of trying to stop her. Hey, I'm begging you, please stop Professor Tsubakiyama. Natsuhiko shook off his intense drowsiness and mustered all of his consciousness. The sound, the light, all 5 of his senses came back to life. And at the same time, Watase sprang into action. No, hold on, that's too dangerous. Huh? Those guys are already suspicious of you after the whole gun incident. Anything could happen if they see you now. But then what are we supposed to do? Watase stopped Enna as she was opening the door. Whew, thank goodness. But right as Natsuhiko let himself relax. Damn it! Drowsiness once again seized him in its grasp. Natsuhiko clung to reality in a desperate attempt to prevent himself from fading away. And then... I thought of a way to solve all our problems. He could no longer catch the flow of the conversation, but he definitely heard Watase say that. What? A way to solve all our problems? And right then... Ugh. Why? Enna's groan snapped Natsuhiko's consciousness back to reality once more. I'm sorry, but I'll need you to take a little nap here for a while. Before he knew it, he saw Enna passed out through Watase's eyes. What do you think you're doing? But Watase just left the room and destroyed its opening mechanism out in the hall. Oh man, I started taking the steroids I was prescribed for my sinuses yesterday, and I am way more clear than I've been in ages today. I'm sure you guys can hear it. Oh, this feels so good. After knocking out Enna, Watase headed towards the heart of Labo. Apparently, he intended to put out the fires in the nuclear reactor area all by himself. Natsuhiko desperately tried to stop him. Stop it, you dumbass. You'll die. You can't put out the fire of a burning nuclear reactor all by yourself. Even if you could, you'd be exposed to radiation for sure. Someone's gotta do it. You want to die that badly? Are you really okay with dying if it means saving everyone else? It's not that I want to die. I just want to save everyone, that's all. Wanting to save people's been the one constant for me this whole time. It was all because you told me to save Yuri way back when this all began. Watase muttered as if he were talking to himself. Natsuhiko listened silently. So, all I want to do is fulfill my role. I hated feeling so powerless, surrounded by nothing but fire, explosions, and smoke. When we didn't have enough AD, I went running straight into gas in a contaminated zone. When someone fell into a hole, I grabbed their hand and pulled them out. I protected Yuri with my body when the debris threatened to crush her. This whole time, all I've ever thought about is how to save everyone. The moment Watase said that, drowsiness began to eat away at Natsuhiko's consciousness once more. He could tell that this time he was fighting a losing battle to stay conscious. He would probably disappear soon after this. Watase's voice echoed as Natsuhiko's hearing deafened. I'll be damned if I let the others die because of my actions. And the same goes for letting anyone die because I did nothing. Hey Crow, how's it going? If putting out the reactor fires will save everyone, then I'll do it. Even if I lose my life as a result. Watase's silent determination could be felt even in Natsuhiko's consciousness. There was no lie, nor bluff, nor pretense in Watase's mind. Only the unadulterated desire to save everyone. Watase, you... But once Natsuhiko said those words, he finally reached his time limit. Ah, damn it. Natsuhiko cursed. He couldn't help but curse. If only you were like that from the start. If only you were a righteous rescue worker, then neither me, nor Mashiro, nor Salu would have had to suffer like this. That's me. That's Watase Kasasagi. Burn that name into your ears. Carve it into your mind. Reflect on that name until the moment you die. Why, Watase? Why? What made you become a terrorist? That was the one question Natsuhiko found vexing. Watase's voice echoed from far away. You get it now? If you do, then shut up. If you keep talking, I might lose my resolve. Okay, I get it. Natsuhiko calmly prayed. I'll leave the rest to you. I'm leaving Salu, that girl, and Professor Tsubakiyama all in your care, okay? So please, Don't let me down. Okay, what to say? Resuscitate. Revival. But just a while later. Just do it like Tachibana and Moribe did. God damn it. God damn it. Are we here? Though Natsuhiko's consciousness was supposedly gone for good, he heard a voice. Please, don't die. And in his nearly faded consciousness, he rapidly began to regain sight. He had no idea what was going on. Just that he was face to face with himself. I did it! With a sigh of relief, Watase held his hand up to Natsuhiko's mouth. He could feel a faint breath on his palm. I'm breathing? Natsuhiko blanked out for a few seconds, but the truth of the situation finally hit him. You mean my body's still alive? But how? How could I have survived with all those bullet wounds? That's a good question. No, more importantly, wasn't a nuclear reactor supposed to have melted down here? So shouldn't that have killed me long ago? Then why? What the hell's going on? Am I dreaming? But the sensations he felt through Watase's body were no doubt reality. The stench of blood drifting in the air, the numbness of his skin, the intense headache. He could feel his entire body convulsing. It's not a dream? Then what's going on with me now? Did Watase save me from the brink of death with CPR? Natsuhiko's body was alive, but how to get back into it? And yet his consciousness was still inside Watase. Which, in Natsuhiko's mind, could only mean one thing. I see, so maybe... At the climax of their fight, Natsuhiko destroyed Watase's memory. But the Phantom Yuri said this back then. The apex of a communicator's journey, the ability beyond empathy, the power to connect minds rather than just brains. Indeed, the third ability of BC was not memory destruction. It was the power to connect minds. When Natsuhiko destroyed Watase's memories, their minds were connected. So basically, it's not that my BC energy's lingering inside Watase. It's that our minds have been connected through BC this entire time. Regardless of whether Watase was awake or knocked out. That would explain why Natsuhiko was able to interfere with Watase's mind and memory. But the question still remained as to how he was still alive. If this really were a nuclear reactor area, then I definitely would have died ages ago. Which means there wasn't a nuclear reactor here? But in that case, what the hell is this place? Just then, after he had finished resuscitating Natsuhiko, Watase discovered something. This is... Watase picked up a pistol that was lying next to Natsuhiko. Right as Watase felt its heft, You damned monster. I have to get away, as far away as possible. Watase's memory of back then started coming back. Yeah, after In Stars in Time, the screen background breaking to reveal red feels very different. Excuse me. Watase's memory of back then started coming back. What the hell was that? Bewildered by the flashback, Watase stared at Natsuhiko with gaping eyes. Oh, crap. But immediately afterwards, Watase himself denied the memories that were trying to come back. No way. There's no way that's true. Anyway, I've got to get him to a safe place. But just as Watase thought this, he saw Salu rushing towards him, axe in hand. Watase's and Salu's hectic scuffle began. Salu attacked Watase with the axe. No, he's not back in his body yet. Watase took a swift kick to the temple. But he found an opening and tackled Salu with the force of a bullet. And straddled her. But that supposedly dominant position didn't last long. Salu struck Watase in the eyes, temporarily blinding him. Salu slipped her body out from under him. Crap, I've got to put some distance between us. Watase blindly reached out in the darkness and grabbed Salu by the clothes. Watase felt Salu lose her balance. I have to defeat her right here and now. Watase's mind filled with a sense of violence and looming danger. Natsuhiko quickly shouted at him. Stop! Don't hurt her! His voice appeared to get through. Watase avoided hitting Salu and instead slipped around behind her. He applied pressure to Salu's neck, mindful of how much strength to use. Watase's sight soon came back. Natsuhiko could tell that Salu was passed out cold in Watase's grip. The sight of her chest slowly rising and falling made it apparent that her life was not in danger. Thank goodness. Watase carried Natsuhiko and Salu as the boy sighed to himself. As Watase left Area N, he found Kazumi standing there. The two of them then carried Natsuhiko and Salu on over to the infirmary immediately. Once they finally arrived at the infirmary, Watase and Kazumi began Natsuhiko's blood transfusion. How's his condition? Think he can pull through? No! His respiration and pulse are extremely feeble, but his vital signs are just barely stable. I can't make any guesses as to how it'll turn out in the end, but I think he'll just pull through if we keep the transfusion going. Though Natsuhiko was relieved to hear Kazumi's words, he couldn't help but think. Still, how did I survive for so long in that state? Good question. I thought it was just, suspension of disbelief bullshit, but if the game is questioning it, do we know how Natsuhiko got shot? Yeah, Watase shot him. Before Natsuhiko broke his brain. Excuse me. Now that it had been established that there was no nuclear reactor in Area N, he understood that his body had not been affected by radiation. But Natsuhiko had been inflicted with such serious wounds that put him at such obvious risk for death from blood loss. Could it possibly have something to do with how I've been connected with Watase through BC this entire time? Full Metal Alchemist style? He had no other hunches, but he did remember what he learned in class a few days ago. Now that I think about it, when we practiced telepathy in the BC room, didn't Professor Tsubakiyama say, wait, hang on. What if evil Watase is now in Natsuhiko's body? Ooh. The most important thing for BC is, without a doubt, concentration. Unlike the other 5 senses, you need concentration that transcends common sense if you want to draw out the 6th sense. It's said that the concentration necessary for BC use is so extreme that it causes the 5 senses to dampen in turn. In certain cases, even vital signs like body temperature and pulse can drop. Once you reach that state of concentration, a new power will awaken in your brain, opening the door to the world of BC. I see. I get it now. When using BC, depending on the situation, the 5 senses can dampen, and vital signs like breathing and pulse can decrease. All the answers were there. Ever since I lost consciousness back then, I've been connected to Watase through BC. So in other words, my brain's been concentrating this entire time for the continuous use of BC. And as a result, my body's respiration and pulse have decreased dramatically. When Natsuhiko had used long-distance telepathy on Mashiro, his face had gone pale. Use of BC's third ability likely required even more extreme concentration from the brain. Enough to cause the body to go into hibernation. I see. So that's how my body was able to minimize blood loss, despite being shot by Watase so many times. By the time Natsuhiko finally reached that conclusion, a sound rang out from behind Watase. Uh-oh. Watase turned around and found Ukita standing in the doorway to the infirmary. Well, well, if it isn't Captain Kasasaki and Lieutenant Tachibana. I thought I heard noises coming from here. What might you two be up to? Well, this is bad. A series of events beyond Natsuhiko's imagination unfurled. Go ahead and laugh. I know it's fragile justice, but it's my choice. If killing you means it'll put an end to all of this, then I'll do what I must. Even if it means staining my hands in sin for the first and last time in my life. Mr. Ukita's resorting to coercive tactics to put the blame on Watase. Your mission ends here. Die, traitor! Captain, look out! But I will ensure that you get your just desserts. Mark my words. There are 3 S's in just desserts. You just said just deserts. Mr. Ukita. If he's calling Watase a traitor, then does that mean that Mr. Ukita really was the sleeper agent after all? But why? I wanted to trust him. Anyway, we need to get out of here as quickly as possible. Now that the old man knows we're here, this place is no longer safe. And Teach is in trouble too. Professor Tsubakiyama's gone. Who the hell did this? How'd they even break the door in the first place? What the hell happened here? Did somebody take Professor Tsubakiyama away? I have a bad feeling about this. Let's get out of here. We need to find a safe place. Please, please be safe, Professor. As Watase and Kazumi ran aimlessly, they reached the connecting passageway to Area 1, and waiting for them there was... Where the hell is that bastard? I see, so that really was it all along. Then I have no choice. I gotta do it, or I can't protect anyone. I gotta kill that son of a bitch. Why is June bleeding from the head? And what's she doing with that engine cutter? As they ran away from June, Kazumi muttered in blank amazement. Why did things turn out this way? We're being chased by our squad mate and people we swore to rescue, and we have no place to run. Those words gave Natsuhiko some food for thought. That's strange. Mr. Ukita was like that too, but I never have expected June to act that way, no matter how suspicious Watase acted. What's with those two? It's like they're the same as Watase was back then. What's going on here? How the hell can we survive in this mess? Ooh, is it a side effect of the, psychic radiation? But then Watase spoke. Don't give up. We're still alive, and there's still people we need to save. So fight on until the bitter end. If you want to give up, you can do that later. Those words encouraged Natsuhiko's consciousness. Soon enough, they headed to the engine room in search of their last sliver of hope, where they found... WX Particle Amplifier Operation Manual. This is it! WX Particle Amplifier Operation Manual. Introduction. This document is an instruction manual for the WX Particle Amplifier. Due to the fact that there is great danger involved in its operation, please read the manual carefully before you proceed. Furthermore, the properties of WX particles have extremely harmful effects to the body. Examples of this include dysesthesia, brain dysfunctions, genetic abnormalities, etc. The symptoms are dependent on the level of particle energy, as listed below. Without AD. Okay, no effects to that. Okay. The intensity and probability of displaying the aforementioned symptoms vary depending on the energy levels. With AD. AD adds up to 4,000 MSV of protection, hence the increased levels. When using the amplifier normally, the particle energy levels should not exceed 2,000 MSV. When used for advanced experiments, the particle energy levels should not exceed 4,000 MSV. Does WX Particle Amplifier refer to that machine in Area N? Then does that mean it's not radiation spreading through Labo, but these WX particles instead? I mean, that's still radiation, Natsuhiko. Various doubts welled up within Natsuhiko's consciousness, but Watase was focused on finding something else. I don't see anything in here about coolant. This is it! So this really is our only way out. It's not radiation, it's magic radiation. Stop the coolant device. Go through the drainage pipe to contact the outside and lead a rescue team back in. That was the plan Watase had thought of to save everyone. He then gathered all the necessary tools and swam in the pipe by himself to seek help. However, Captain? You're back already? I'm sorry. There was an obstruction in the pipe. I couldn't even make it to Lake Rokume. His plan resulted in failure. Damn it, just when I finally thought we had a glimmer of hope. Let's try starting all over from the beginning. We'll think of a way to open the bulkhead by Area 2's emergency staircase. Is this the scene where Kazumi turns on him? No sooner had they reached the bulkhead than did all of Labo switch from main to emergency power, and at that moment... Later, Crow. Salu woke up and bared her fangs at Kazumi. Release Natsuhiko, or else I'll choke this woman to death. Salu? Stop it, Salu. We're just trying to save you guys. Why can't you understand that? Watase frantically tried to talk some sense into the bloodthirsty Salu, but she just gave him a pointed glare. I thought I told you to stop telling such transparent lies. You think you can trick me after you shot Natsuhiko? What? Wait, what did you say? You didn't know, woman? You're lying, right? The captain would never do anything like that, right? Watase gasped at Kazumi's words. And at that moment, the memories of back then flickered inside Watase's head once more. Crap, at this rate, Watase might regain his memory. What do I do? Go back to my body and try to persuade Salu? Wait, but would it be safe to suddenly return to my body when it's barely recovered from the brink of death? If my body's condition suddenly worsens once it gets out of hibernation. As Natsuhiko hesitated, Salu addressed Kazumi. Take a close look at what's in that man's pocket. She was of course referring to the gun that Watase had picked up in Area N. That gun probably belonged to this man to begin with. He used it to shoot Natsu. Right when Salu said that, Kazumi violently shook her off. I said stop! Salu's body flew through the air. All Natsuhiko could do was watch the whole thing from beginning to end. Salu proceeded to tumble down the staircase. She finally stopped at the landing of the stairs at B1. She wasn't budging an inch. Salu! Watase frantically ran over to Salu and checked her condition. Her life wasn't in danger, but she appeared to be completely knocked out. Damn it! If only I hadn't hesitated to go back to my body! As Natsuhiko wallowed in regret for not trying to persuade Salu sooner, Kazumi descended the steps with unsteady feet. Captain, is she... It's okay, she just passed out. I see. Kazumi's body shook as she spoke. Something was off about her. Kazumi looked at Watase and spoke. Captain, may I ask you just one question? What is it? This mystery has been on my mind for a long time. Captain, why was it that you went down to the basement at 6:42 a.m., shortly after this accident occurred? I told you guys, that's because Dojima and Hiyama called for me on their radio. So what you're saying is that your radio could receive transmissions then, correct? But you know, I personally tried to reach you on your radio just a few minutes before that. 6:42 a.m. That was one of the memories Natsuhiko casually bestowed upon Watase when falsifying his memories. Has Miss Tachibana been doubting Watase this entire time? That doubt wasn't unwarranted. The loss and imperfect recovery of memory, hallucinations, falsehoods, a pistol. Watase could answer none of these lingering questions of hers. Watase was extremely suspicious, but for Kazumi to have followed him this far was probably a testament to just how much she trusted him. But that last thing Salu said must have been, "You think you can trick me after you shot Natsuhiko?" That last statement must have been enough to shatter Kazumi's trust. I tried as hard as I could to trust you. I've trusted you for as long as I can remember. But... Tachibana? I just can't do it, Watase. If what Miss Sanamiya said was true, then everything fits. When I think of this facility's true nature and the past you, I realize that there's only one answer. What's going on? At that moment, Natsuhiko felt an intense uneasiness. He could understand why Kazumi would doubt Watase, but the extent of her doubt was blatantly abnormal. If you are a murderer, then the least I can do is preserve your good name. As Kazumi kept muttering incomprehensibly, she reached out for a nearby fire extinguisher. You went down the wrong path, Watase. Now it's time for you to receive your punishment for that choice. And a second later, Kazumi swung the fire extinguisher horizontally, but Watase quickly blocked it with his arm. Stop! Why are you doing this? You know why, Watase. Watase, I'm so sorry, Watase. This is the only thing I can do for you now. With one look into her eyes, Natsuhiko was convinced. She's the same. She's the same as Mr. Ukita in June. At that moment, Watase quickly thrust Kazumi away. She fell on the staircase with the fire extinguisher still in hand. Watase took that opportunity to carry Natsuhiko's body down to the second basement level and rush out of the stairwell. Damn it, what the hell's going on? Thoughts raced through Natsuhiko as Watase shouted that. What in the world's going on? Why is everyone acting crazy all of a sudden? Even Miss Tachibana. Wait, what did Anna do that's crazy? Something suspicious was happening, but Natsuhiko didn't know what. By the time he reached Area N, Watase was already tattered and beaten. Kazumi had struck him in the arm with a fire extinguisher. June appeared and he had to run away. Ukita shot him in the flank. And once he finally arrived in Area N, what was waiting for him was abnormal symptoms including skin discomfort, headache, and convulsing fingertips. No, Watase, it's too dangerous here. The manual they'd found in the engine room even had this to say. 8,000 MSV, unconsciousness. The contamination level in Area N was far beyond that. If the contamination level's that high, then the device inside here really must be that WX particle amplifier. Is this device the reason the facility's MSV values have been increasing? Once Natsuhiko was convinced of that connection, a sudden realization hit him. AD, Procyon, Contaminated Zone, WX Particle Amplifier, WX Particle, BC's third ability. The scattered puzzle pieces inside of Natsuhiko rapidly connected into one. I've got it! I've solved one of the mysteries! The answer he finally found was the true nature of the facility. Glad you're keeping up! I've been connected to Watase for 6 hours using BC's third ability. But whenever he administered AD, the connection would halt, and when he entered a contaminated zone, it would resume. So in other words, the AD that Labo made is a drug that inhibits my BC abilities. The WX particles spreading around Labo have the opposite effect as AD. They augment my BC abilities. And in the dead center of the high-security Labo was a WX particle amplifier. And the Procyon, the device that measured the WX particles, was built by Labo as well. The Procyon, the AD, the WX particles, everything relates to BC. Which means Labo. Rokame City's 7 Wonders, number 1. Labo does not conduct nuclear power research. They research arms production and other dangerous national matters. Labo does not conduct nuclear power research. Other dangerous national matters. So Labo really isn't a nuclear power research lab at all. It's a facility for researching WX particles and BC abilities. Natsuhiko finally arrived at that truth, and at that very same moment, Cosme appeared on the other side of the still open gate. The fire extinguisher was still in her hands. Watase panicked and operated the terminal. The gate quickly began to close, but before it could finish, Cosme slipped through and swung the fire extinguisher down right onto Watase's head. Sparks filled his vision, and his body shook left and right. But Watase mustered the last of his strength and pushed Cosme right out of Area N. Watase! Watase! Open the gate, Watase! Cosme's voice drowned out behind the gate. And at the same time, Watase crumbled down, sending Natsuhiko's body flinging off him. As Watase's consciousness faded, several questions flickered in his mind. Why did he lose his memory? Why were the 9 of them locked inside the facility? Why did that survivor keep running away from him? Why was there no fire and no nuclear reactor in Area N, but rather Natsuhiko on the brink of death instead? Why did Yuri's body disappear? Several answers to those questions lay within Natsuhiko. The amnesia, the contradictory memories were caused by Natsuhiko's abilities. The reason Salu ran away from Watase was obviously because he was a terrorist. The reason Yuri ran away was probably the same. And the reason why there were no fires and no nuclear reactor in Area N was because the facility researched WX particles in BC. But even Natsuhiko had 6 lingering questions of his own that he could not solve. Only 6, huh? Who conducted the murders inside Labo? Who was the girl killed in front of the cargo lift? Yeah, that's been held over us for the last 40 hours of gameplay. Who was the girl called Yuri, who looked exactly like the Yuri he knew? Yeah, Yuri as a tulpa was not, a twist I was expecting. Who took away the stockpile of AD? Where did Enna go? But what he understood the least was, why did those 3 people go mad one by one? He thought he heard someone whisper, "Try to remember." It felt like a voice rising up from Natsuhiko's heart of hearts. That's right. Try to remember. The answer has to be in something I've seen so far. The answer to the unsolved mystery. With that thought in mind, Natsuhiko recalled Rokame City's 7 wonders. Number 5. If a communicator uses BC without knowing the proper way, they will eventually turn into a mind-broken monster. Number 6. Monsterified people are captured by a secret task force working under Rokame City's security department and are imprisoned underground. Number 7. If a communicator excessively misuses BC, their target's mind will eventually break. Natsuhiko couldn't understand why he was suddenly reminded of these wonders. However, if all of those are true, then if there's a monster locked underground here, causing everyone's minds to go crazy, then we've got to stop it. It was too out there to call it a theory. It was nothing more than a simple guess. So that's why the terrorists are here. They're here to kill that person. But Natsuhiko thought, I don't know if monsters like that exist. I don't know who's at fault here. I don't know what the hell is going on here. He knew that he couldn't let it end like this. There was no way he could leave things as is without understanding a thing. Then I'll investigate. I'll find out exactly what's going on here. I can't leave everything to Watase anymore. I can't remain a mere spectator. I'm throwing down the gauntlet. If the 2 of us work together, we can do this. Hey, there we go. Excuse me. The moment he made his brave decision, Natsuhiko's consciousness returned to his body. His own 5 senses returned. His sight, his hearing, his touch, his smell, his taste, and his pain all awoke inside his body. And immediately afterward, he felt a burning pain singe through his bullet wounds. It was genuine pain that he had to grit his teeth to bear. But Natsuhiko bore the pain nonetheless. He focused all the strength he could muster into his heavy limbs. And slowly but surely he stood up. The blood transfusion needle fell out, but he paid no heed to that. And stepped up to Watase. Here we go, we're finally caught up. He looks dead. When he heard Natsuhiko's footsteps, Watase peeled his heavy eyes open. Get up. None of this is over yet. 6 towering devices stood in the vast area N. As they made their mechanical whirring sounds, an intense, resolute voice shook the cool air. You and I will save everyone from this nightmare. We've finally come out of flashback purgatory. Finally! We've been in route B. We've been in routes B and C for like 20 hours. Oh, I shouldn't have skipped that. Whoops. Right then, in Labo's basement floors. You're not getting away, you damn traitor. I will ensure that you get your just deserts. A man spat out repeated words of resentment. Sacrifice your life. Why? This is actually the only credit scene you could skip without missing something? Thank goodness. A woman wandered around in search of another man. I gotta kill him. I gotta do it. A young rescue worker hardened her heart with a murderous intent. Yes, I understand. I'm the only one who can save him after all. Oh-ho! Hello, Spectre of the Dead Girl. A skilled rescue worker exchanged words with someone. Okay. So Ghost Girl is possessing people, it seems. Or at least Kazumi. A girl who had fainted got up with vacant eyes. That's Hiko. And a girl called out a boy's name. Didn't she make it to the surface? When is Mashiro going to come back into the story? But not a single one of the 9 noticed that further underground, inside a cage constructed beneath their feet, the final bomb full of malice was lying waiting, and as if time were repeating itself. The girl who supposedly died 9 years ago slowly awoke. Yuri Tulpa is back! Where am I? She soon remembered what had happened to her and why she had been asleep there. Hikarin. Her voice trembled in the darkness. Hikarin, save me! Route D is just we play as a tied-up Yuri for 10 hours. There were 3 more hours until the lockdown was lifted. Her wish would soon pass through the darkness. Route C end. On to Route D! Preview, continuation of Route Double. Only 3 hours left. The boy rises to solve all the mysteries. His body heavily wounded. Awake, a voice calls to the collapsed man once again. In that utterly chaotic situation, the 2 of them decide to join forces. The boy's awakened true power. The man's memories resurrected at last. Oh no, he remembers the 9 trapped souls' unknown past and the unveiled face of their true enemy. What is the true form of the monster that warped their fates? As 9 convictions intersect in the darkness, they will be faced with a fated choice once more. Would you destroy everything for the sake of someone else? Would you kill someone for the sake of everything else? To the next route. Viewed C, good ending. Route double unlocked. A new scenario has been added to the route select menu. Unlocked answer mode. You must select the answer mode. Okay, you can choose a preset value to lead you onto a proper branch. Now saving. Alright, before we start Route D, I'm going to take a quick break. I'll be back in a few minutes, guys. The long message you just posted did not get through, no. So, what was it? Before we begin Route D, I'm going to ask you a question. This is multiple endings, so the only one true ending, and several choices during D will determine which one you can access. So I'm going to leave this to you. Do you want to see every ending? If you would like to see every ending, I will only tell you if you're about to hit the true end and stop you there, as it's best experienced last, or inform you if you cannot access it, and I will give you pointers on any reloads if you wish. Excuse me. Okay, that's a good question. Huh. Okay, it would be interesting to see the multiple endings, but honestly, I'm kind of interested in plowing through to the end. How interesting are the alternate endings? The main alternate ends are all interesting enough. How much time will that add to the playthrough, do you think? Excuse me. I actually calculated that? Let me check. Okay. I'm also curious, what do you want me to play after this game? Because it sounds like we're nearing the end, though this will probably be another 20 hours in Route D, at least. Oh, Beach episode is getting a release date this week. Nice. A few smaller games planned. 1,000 Times Resist, Paranormal Sight, and just a To the Moon Beach episode. Okay. I've heard of Paranormal Sight. I don't know anything about it, though. Okay, so the question left behind was you were going to look up, you calculated how much longer the alternate endings would make this playthrough. And I think we lost track of that. Oh, only like 2 hours and half an hour for commentary and skipping dialogue? Oh, okay, yeah, let's do those then. Well, I'm curious, how much of the game is left then? How long is Route D? Still a good chunk, fair enough. Alright, I'm going to take that break. I'll be back in a few minutes. I'm going to have a snack. Alright, back. Bring that to game. Alright. Alright, route A, B, C, D. Oh, hey, I'm swapping back and forth between them. Interesting. The boy lifts his wounded body, determined to solve the mysteries. Awake, calls a voice once more to the man who has fallen. The boy's true power awakened. The man's memories resurrected. 9 trapped souls unknown pass, and their true foe's face unveiled. Times and perspectives overlap. Their senses of justice at odds. Their disparate morals clash. The answers to guide them overlap in a place as yet unknown. Whose will shall at last decide the final decision to be made? One sec. Excuse me. Oh, there's a lot of endings. Hang on, let me... there's a bunch of endings that I haven't seen. There's 4 endings I didn't see. I only got the correct ending with Route B. There's only 1 ending in Route C. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 endings in Route D. Holy shit. Okay. How are we going to get a bunch of endings? Who can even be on the census system now? Alright, let's do it. Blessed is he who in the name of charity and goodwill shepherds the weak through the valley of darkness, for he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. The Old Testament, Ezekiel 25:17. It all happened inside this facility. Excuse me. What do we do, Hikarin? I'm scared. Don't cry, Yuri. I'll do something. 9 years ago, the young boy desperately tried to save the girl. Hikarin, it's time to say goodbye. And then the time came for the boy to part with the girl's phantom. I'm glad I could be there for you. He then truly connected with the childhood friend who had supported him. And staked his life in an effort to save her. You're not getting away. Okay, remind me. Mashiro and Salu interacted with Tulpa Yuri once they got to Labo, right? Obviously, Mashiro and Salu weren't interacting with Brain Ghost Yuri during Route B. But I believe I remember them interacting with Tulpa Yuri in Labo. Am I remembering correctly? Mashiro did interact with Brain Ghost because she should empathy Natsuhiko, so Luke could not. Well, yeah, but... yeah. But once they got to Labo, did either of them interact with her? Anyway, I'll continue. He mustered the last of his strength to defeat a man full of malice. For a while, time stopped for them. Yes, we've been over this, but after 4,896 seconds had passed, time began to move once more. 10. Captain, please hang in there. Captain! Get up, Captain. Come on. Ah, you finally come to, haven't you? What am I? Stop with the flashbacks! The man woke up, burdened with the duty of rescue squad captain. Why are you going this far to save my life? Isn't it obvious? It's because I'm a rescue squad captain. And he fought with his life on the line to fulfill that duty. But regardless of his hard fight, several lives were still lost. And even the comrades whom he had to save bore their fangs at him. We're just trying to save you guys. Why can't you understand that? I thought I told you to stop telling such transparent lies. We saw this 15 minutes ago. You think you can trick me after you shot Natsuhiko? You're lying, right? The captain would never do anything like that, right? Even the woman whom he trusted the most began to doubt him, even though he had thought they'd made a genuine connection. Are we swapping back to Watase for the start of this, I think? You went down the wrong path, Watase. Now it's time for you to receive your punishment for that choice. It all happened inside this facility. From two different viewpoints, the boy and the man observed this story, these events, and the world, carving them all into their memories. And at the end of their arduous journey, these two spirits and bodies confronted one another in the same place. Get up. None of this is over yet. You and I will save everyone from this nightmare. Awake, a voice then called to him. Or perhaps he was the voice who called out. Deep within the whitewashed tomb, their times overlapped, and once again began to move. Double chapter 1, 1500. Chapter 3 hours and 3 minutes until lockdown is lifted. You and... Natsuhiko's perspective. Okay. You and I will save everyone from this nightmare. But by the time Natsuhiko said that, Watase had already lost consciousness. Okay, question about saving. Do we need any of the previous saves I've made while playing the game going forward? I don't care to go back and get all the endings from Route A and Route B. Is there any reason to keep the saves from the past 56 hours of playthrough? Because if not, I'm going to save in slot 1 and go down a slot every time I save. Watase had already lost consciousness. Now you can save over them. Good. Hey, come on. This is no time to sleep. Wake up. But no matter how many times he tried to rouse him from his slumber, Watase did not awaken. On the contrary, he began to froth from the mouth and convulse. Well, he's dead. Hey, what's wrong? No response. There was clearly something wrong with him. What's going on? Is it because Miss Tachibana struck him? As that thought crossed Natsuhiko's mind, he began to hear the whirring of the gigantic machine surrounding him. No, is this machine to blame? Natsuhiko slipped the Procyon out of Watase's pocket. When he switched it on, the reading spiked to 13,492 MSV. That's huge! According to the WX particle amplifier manual, values over 8,000 MSV can cause symptoms including unconsciousness. And it's about time for Watase's AD to wear off. If this machine's dispersing harmful particles, then could his unconsciousness and convulsions be due to that? But if that were the case, then why was Natsuhiko okay? He didn't particularly feel a headache. His gunshot wounds hurt, but he managed to keep standing. Natsuhiko's condition had improved thanks to Watase and Kazumi's treatment. Yeah, his mouth is foaming. Looks like something else, though. It's far from a complete recovery. It's not like I have to keep myself wormed into someone else's mind to stay alive anymore. On the other hand, Watase looks like he's in danger here. I gotta get him out of Area N. Right when he thought that, he caught sight of a certain something in the corner of his eye. A security card split in two. It was the level N card that Natsuhiko had at one point that Watase had snapped. Can it still be used? When he picked up both halves, he noticed that the part that was swiped through the slot reader was apparently still intact. Okay, so Watase broke a swipeable card in half, and he didn't do it to break the swipeable part? What an idiot! He put the card fragment in his pocket, wedged his blood transfusion kit under his arm, and grabbed Watase's hand. Heave! He thus started dragging Watase across the floor. Can't go towards Area 2. Miss Tachibana's on the other side. Areas 1 and 3 are dangerous too. We could very well run into Mr. Ukita or June. And Areas 4 and 5 are contaminated in their inner rings, so that narrows our options down to just Area 6. With that thought in mind, Natsuhiko desperately dragged Watase. Damn, he's heavy. Just how many kilos does he weigh? Well, he's a grown-ass man who stays fit, and you are a child. Judging by his physique, he must have been nearly 90 kilograms. The more strength he used, the more his entire body hurt. The gunshot wound in his arm opened up and seeped with blood. And Natsuhiko was now trying to save the one who inflicted that very wound upon him. He dragged him further and brought him into the connecting passageway. And once he finally reached Area 6... Damn it! I can't keep this up! Natsuhiko collapsed on the spot, his strength shot. He'd used up what little stamina he had regained. He tried to catch his breath. His body felt too heavy to be his own. It was too much of a bother to even sit up. Natsuhiko did literally break his brain. He has had inflicted stupidity upon his brain. He did that before Natsuhiko broke his brain. But it should be fairly safe now that we've gotten this far away, right? He checked the Procyon. The reading had dropped to 3,911 MSV. A value quite lower than what it had been when Watase had gone to Area 6 before. Now that I think about it, that's the first time I've seen the reading decrease, isn't it? The reading had always been rising, and it was only after they'd come this far that he finally saw a reading decrease. He didn't know why that was, but for now, I guess we should be thankful, both me and Watase. Okay, so the source of the WX particle meltdown is clearly a person. Somebody in the underground section, is like the level 3 underground section, is emitting the WX particles and fucking everything up. The question is it Yuri? Oh man, what if that is OG Yuri, and the Yuri who died in the hospital was some kind of flash clone or someone meant to look like Yuri who was meant to make it seem like Yuri had died. That would be interesting. For now, I guess we should be thankful, both me and Watase. Hey, Watase, feeling a little better now? Right after he called out to Watase, Natsuhiko suddenly noticed something. Wait, if I called him casually by his first name like that, he'd definitely think it was strange. Natsuhiko adjusted his tone and addressed him more formally. Captain Kasasagi, please wake up. Can you hear me, Captain? Captain Kasasagi! Natsuhiko, take his gun. Then wake him up. Natsuhiko kept calling out to him. And eventually, Watase weakly began to move. Sasagi, please wake up. Can you hear me, Captain? Captain Kasasagi! Ugh. Watase awoke to the sound of that voice calling out to him. Okay, so the census system will still come into play because we're still trapped in floors in B1 and B2 with the rest of the people. We're not going into B3 yet. Okay. That lets us resolve the mystery of Anna, among other things. And it lets us resolve the mystery of who took the AD and find enough to get Watase through Area N into the elevator to go down. Watase awoke to the sound of that voice calling out to him. Oh, good, you're awake. That's a pretty chill look on his face. Aren't you? Watase was surprised to see the one who'd woken him up. It was none other than the survivor who he'd found severely injured. Natsuhiko. He'd been awoken by the same person he'd been trying to save. He then realized that he was not in the same place that he'd fainted in. Where are we? We're in Area 6's inner ring. Did you bring me all the way here? Yeah, it looked like being in Area N was taking a toll on you, so I figured it'd be best. I see. Thank you. His head still throbbed as always, but it wasn't anything he couldn't shake off. Watase forced a smile on his face. I'm impressed that you brought me so far. I probably weigh a ton. Yeah, you do. Well, I managed. But if you open any of your wounds up... Just then, Watase noticed something that made his blood run cold. The blood dripping to the floor from Natsuhiko's arm. You did open your wounds! I have to treat you! No, it's just a scratch. It's a gunshot wound, Natsuhiko. Don't play cool. You can't act that way. Not in your condition. What's more, they'd likely run into Kazumi or one of the others if they stayed in the hallway. Watase lifted Natsuhiko up and dashed into a nearby room. He then laid Natsuhiko on the floor and set the transfusion kit to the side. Then he removed the needle and reinserted it into one of Natsuhiko's veins. Last, he ripped off part of his shirt and wrapped it around Natsuhiko's arm. I know it's just simple first aid, but you think you'll be okay? How would Natsuhiko know? Excuse me. I think I'm alright. I see. Sorry, I would have used Chiron to seal it up if I had any left. Even so, the reopened wound appeared to be getting smaller. Watase's treatment seemed to have stopped the bleeding. Watase then tended to his own gunshot wound in his side, before finally turning his full attention to Natsuhiko. How's the transfusion going? Is the blood flowing properly? Yeah, thanks to you, it looks like I'll be fine in that regard, at least. Great, but let me know right away if you start feeling worse. Thanks. Natsuhiko gave him a feeble answer. The weakness of his voice and the delay in his response was likely due to his injuries. No, it wasn't. Man, those are some terrible wounds. I mean, that Salu girl got hurt in her arm, but this is just... Weren't you, Salu, and that Mashura Toba girl together at first? Yes. So you got separated from them? Yeah. It happened when we were running around the facility, trying to get away from all those fires and explosions. I see. It truly was a disaster. But you're safe here for now. I know you must be worried about your friends, but take a moment to rest. Okay. Though I don't think we'll be able to stay here for long. Miss Tachibana and the others could be chasing us after all. It looks like you know about our current situation, huh? How long have you been awake? Let it slip, Natsuhiko. Natsuhiko hesitated to answer that question for a moment, then replied in a low voice. Just around the time you went into Area N. Huh? You were already conscious by then? Just barely. Anyways, I just happened to see what occurred after that. I wasn't focused on what was going on, though. I also know you lost your memories, yet still tried to save everyone in spite of that. And I also saw Miss Tachibana suddenly go nuts and attack you. Yeah, as far as I know, I've got 3 other enemies aside from her. Old Man, Ukita, Moribe, and Salu. So we're surrounded on all sides, aren't we? Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Teach has gone off who knows where, and I don't even know if Yuri's alive or not. So with those 2 out of the equation, I guess that means you might be my only ally here. Me? Well, yeah, you did save me. Oh, that frown. Natsuhiko didn't answer. He just stared at Watase. What's wrong? Did I say something weird? No, it's nothing. Natsuhiko muttered to himself, then looked away from Watase. Natsuhiko found himself disgusted by Watase's word choice. Allies, huh? I can't say I completely agree with that word. But Watase certainly is the one I can trust the most right now. Indeed, Natsuhiko had the best seat in the house to witness the amnesiac Watase's desperate struggle, so he could attest to his reliability. Now that they were face to face like this, things could finally begin. Let's investigate each matter one at a time, including whether or not a monster exists here. First, what's the current situation? Who's friend and who's foe? Could Natsuhiko consider anyone else an ally besides Watase? Well, if you can talk Salu down, which will be much easier now that you're awake and can speak to her yourself. But he can't really do that without spilling the details to Watase. At the very least, Salu was probably on his side. Other than her, it doesn't look like any words are getting through to June. And Mr. Ukita appears to be the same way. And the latest one to turn violent is Miss Tachibana, huh? I wonder if we'll find Anna and she's already crazy. Those 3 were completely deranged. Trying to talk things out with them would likely be a fruitless endeavor. But Professor Tsubakiyama seemed quite composed in comparison. Yeah, but at the time we last saw Enna, Kazumi hadn't gone nuts yet, so it could just be affecting her at the same rate. However, there were too many mysteries surrounding Enna. Why did she have a gun? Why was she in Labo? Natsuhiko had no idea. Then there's that girl who called herself Yuri. What about her? He knew next to nothing about this Yuri. Wait, no, I know why Tulpa Yuri is real. It's because the whole adult crew could see her. Well, maybe not real, but like everyone was able to interact with her except the guys in full radiation protection suits. So it's not that she's physically there, but the rest of them are able to see her. That's what I was missing. He knew next to nothing about this Yuri. The girl mysteriously appeared and mysteriously disappeared. Who in the world is she? No, don't tell me she's the monster? Is that even possible? The moment that thought crossed his mind, he suddenly heard something in his head. Hikarin. A familiar voice. Natsuhiko gasped as the echoing voice continued inside his brain. Hikarin, save me! There was no mistaking it. That was BC, and it sounded like Yuri's voice. Yuri? Huh? Hikarin? An attempt at telepathy on Natsuhiko's part garnered a response from Yuri. Are you Yuri? You are, aren't you? Yeah. I know you might find it hard to believe, though. Then is this voice your telepathy? Yeah, you see, I'm a communicator. Acting as if he didn't already know that. He did know that from before she quote-unquote died, right? After a short, silent pause, she continued. I know it doesn't make any sense coming from me when I'm supposed to have died 9 years ago. But please, believe in me, Hikarin. You see, I'm actually still alive. And I knew you were here in this facility. This whole time I've been thinking, if only I could see you. The tone of her voice perfectly matched that of the one Yuri used in his memories. No, it was more than just that. The emotions conveyed with her telepathy and the contents of her words both seemed to indicate that Yuri was indeed the owner of that voice. Yuri. Various emotions ebbed and flowed within Natsuhiko's mind. He was convinced that she was no monster. There were countless things he wanted to tell her, countless things he wanted to ask her, but Natsuhiko stayed his heart and responded. Of course, Yuri. Of course I believe you. I believe anything you say. I've wanted to see you all this time, too. Thank you, Hikarin. Her telepathy conveyed to Natsuhiko how touched she felt. So he continued as a means to give her some peace of mind. Wait, hang on. So Yuri went into a coma and was in the hospital in a coma. And then she supposedly died, but Natsuhiko never saw her body. Did anybody see her body after a certain point, after her quote-unquote body was taken away from the hospital? Maybe that was the real Yuri and she got brought back to Labo for experiments. So we continued as a means to give her some peace of mind. By the way, Yuri, are you safe? Yeah, I'm not hurt in particular or anything. Thank goodness. So where are you now? I'm in a place called the Shelter. Shelter? There's a secret room in Area 5. A secret room? He was surprised for a second, And now that he thought about it, he was in an peculiar facility. Perhaps it wasn't such an oddity for it to have a secret room or two. Yuri, please give me the details. Where exactly is that room? Area 5's outer ring, B1. There should be a numeric keypad on the wall close to the emergency staircase. If you press in 107215, the wall should open, revealing a door. So you've been reading people's minds to find that out. So that's it. Now that she mentioned it, he did see something like that when he had been inside Watase's mind. Hey, hold on a sec, guys. Huh? What do you think this is? Attached to the wall was a small panel that read Emergency. Right below it was a keypad of sorts with 10 buttons labeled from 0 to 9. Okay, got it, Yuri. 107215, right? Are you alone there? Yeah, but when I tried using empathy on everybody, I heard such horrid thoughts coming from them. I'm scared. Okay, Yuri, I'll be right there, so wait for me. After telling her that, Natsuhiko got up. Ugh. What's wrong? I've got to go. Natsuhiko withstood the pain in his entire body and started to rise to his feet. Hey, hold up! Where do you think you're going? You're severely wounded, you know? The transfusion's not even done yet, and Tachibana and the others could be lurking out there. It's too dangerous to leave this room. Watase was right. Natsuhiko was indeed severely wounded. Severely wounded. He could very well use up the rest of his strength trying to look for Yuri. Guess that leaves me with no choice. With that thought in mind, Natsuhiko looked Watase squarely in the eye. In that case, Captain Kasasagi, can you bring me to where Yuri is? You know her? Yeah, she's a precious friend of mine. I see. I'd love to bring you to her, but I don't know where she... There's a secret shelter in Area 5's outer ring on B1. If you can't find her, that might be where she is. A shelter? How would you know about something like that? Well, only Labo staff members know about it. Did you happen to find a place in the Area 5 hallway that had a numeric keypad? Yeah, now that you mention it. That was the shelter entrance. Yuri and I are both children of Labo staff members, you see, so we heard about it from our parents. Yuri had told Watase that she was a relative of a Labo staff member. So Natsuhiko thought that Watase would buy that half-truth, but... Wait a sec, I'm confused about a few things here. Huh? How'd you even know Yuri was here in Labo in the first place? Yuri disappeared before I found you out cold, you know? Did you guys meet up somewhere before you passed out in Area N? That's the one thing I can't tell you for now, but please believe me. But still, I understand why you doubt me, but there's one thing I can say for sure. You and I share the same desire to save Yuri. So please... Natsuhiko bowed his head down and pleaded to Watase. Oh, whoops. Watase hesitated for a while, but he eventually nodded meekly. Okay, I'll believe in you. With that affirmation, Watase carried Natsuhiko on his back, and as he held the blood transfusion kit underneath his arm, they left the room. This shelter, or whatever, is in kind of a hard place to get to. The staircases are collapsed all over the place, you see. So, we'll take a detour through Area 1. Kind of a roundabout way, but you okay with that? Yeah, I'm counting on you. Alright, hang on tight. Watase walked on with Natsuhiko on his back. And as Watase carried him, Natsuhiko sent telepathy to Yuri. Yuri, can you hear me? Can you repeat the number? An answer soon came back. I hear you, Hikarin. Watase and I are heading your way. Huh? Captain Kasasagi's with you too? Don't worry, Watase's our ally now. Our ally? Natsuhiko could feel Yuri's surprise and bewilderment. So she really was being extremely cautious about Watase then. I don't really understand what kind of person Watase is either. I think he probably was a human filled with malice originally. Yeah, but now that Watase's lost his memory, he's become a harmless being. That's true. He saved me several times too, after all. But why did he lose his memory? Do you have any idea, Hikarin? You might not believe this, but I think it's because I erased his memory. And after that, I've even been sharing his senses, seeing his actions through his eyes. I guess I've got that sort of ability now, apparently. Hikarin, you mean you've completely mastered the third ability? Wait, what? Hearing that phrase took Natsuhiko by surprise. You know about the existence of the third ability, too? Yeah, that explains a lot, then. I didn't even consider that possibility, but I guess I should have expected you could do it. Yuri spoke as if she were talking to herself. She seemed to know a lot more than Natsuhiko did. She better spill. Let's save the details for when we can talk face to face. We're almost there. Okay, I'll be waiting. And thus their communication ended. And Natsuhiko entrusted himself to Watase's back. Watase walked through the darkness of Area 5, struggling with his raging headache. Chapter name Friends. Though he didn't let it show, he was suspicious about this whole situation. It was due to the boy he was carrying. He was still uncertain if what Natsuhiko Tenkawa had told him was the truth. Is Yuri really alive? Of course, if that were true, then it would definitely be a cause for celebration. But how did Natsuhiko know that? Wasn't he unconscious in Area N the whole time? Could this boy be hiding something? Oh, yes, he is. Is it really okay to take him to where Yuri is? When that thought hit Watase, he tried to shake it out of his head. Crap, I'm starting to jump at shadows again. I know that no one trusts me, but that's exactly why I, at the very least, should trust others. Natsuhiko saved my life, and to begin with, I'm a rescue worker. I came to this place to save people. I'm not here for the sake of doubting them. Watase scolded himself as he walked. It wasn't long before he saw the keypad built into the wall from before. Is this it? Yeah, please input the password. The wall should open up if you press 107215. Watase input those numbers as he kept carrying Natsuhiko. Excuse me. And when he did... the wall opened, revealing a narrow passage. At the other end of the passage was a sturdy-looking iron door. It really opened. Please go in. Yuri should be right through that door. Right. Watase walked up to the iron door. He timidly opened it. Behind it was a room about 16 square meters in size. It was too dark to see anything clearly inside, but he could hear grunting coming from a corner of the room. Watase gasped and turned to that direction to see... Yuri! What happened here? Yuri was lying on the floor. Her hands and feet were bound, and her mouth was gagged. Please, just untie her for now. Yeah. Watase lowered Natsuhiko to the floor and rushed over to Yuri. He then untied her bonds. All right, that should do it. You okay, Yuri? Yes, thank you. Once she said that, her eyes suddenly welled up with tears. What's wrong? Does it hurt somewhere? No, that's not it. Yuri looked at Natsuhiko. He lifted his body up from the floor. Yuri! Hikarin! In a quivering voice, Yuri called out what seemed to be a nickname for Natsuhiko. I'm so glad to finally see you again. And she jumped at him. Ow, ow, ow! I'm sorry. Excuse me. Yuri panicked and loosened the grip in her arms. Natsuhiko's eyes welled up with tears of pain, but he smiled nonetheless. No, it's okay. All that matters is that you're okay. I'm fine, but what about you, Hikarin? Oh, I'm, about that. It hurts like hell, but I'll manage. Captain Kasasagi and Miss Tachibana patched me up. I see, but still, thank goodness. Watase watched their reunion with a wry smile. Looks like he really is Yuri's friend. No, the two of them perhaps looked more like lovers than friends from the way they were acting. I'm really glad that you're okay. I guess this is what they call a touching reunion? Yes. Thanks to you. Watase gave them a smile, but soon looked serious again. Sorry, but we don't have time to celebrate. Huh? What happened to you? Who tied you up? Yuri answered Watase's question in a frightened voice. It was Mr. Ukita. I knew it! The old man? Why would Mr. Ukita do something like that? Because he's a senior researcher here. He's got high clearance and he's involved with her experiments. Well, it didn't look like he had sinister motives or anything. Huh? It looked like he just wanted to keep me protected somewhere safe after having seen that dead girl by the lift. He tied me up so that I couldn't run off on my own. I see, but it looks like he still did it against your will. And that also means the old man knew about this secret room the whole time, yet he kept his mouth shut about it. His actions are just way too suspicious. It's practically the definition of acting behind someone's back. Just what in the world was he after? Watase then suddenly remembered the time Yuri went missing. Now that I think about it, the old man started really hounding on me right after Yuri disappeared. Even though he was the one who actually hid Yuri here. So does that mean the old man was trying to frame me? So Ukita really was Watase's enemy. Regardless, he'll pay for laying a hand on Yuri. I have to keep these kids safe, no matter the cost. Watase looked at Natsuhiko and Yuri, then reaffirmed his decision. And at the same time, Natsuhiko made a new decision of his own. I'm happy to see Yuri again, but there are some things I need clarified first. If Mr. Ukita's an enemy, then what about Professor Tsubakiyama? There were several unnatural aspects to Ena's actions, especially how she wasn't opening her heart to them. Natsuhiko resolved himself and sent her telepathy. Professor, can you hear me? It's me, Natsuhiko Tenkawa. I'm still here in Labo. Where are you, Professor? He followed up with empathy, and immediately heard Ena's mental voice. Mr. Tenkawa? Was that Mr. Tenkawa's telepathy just now? I got through to Professor Tsubakiyama. Natsuhiko rejoiced in his mind as he made use of telepathy and empathy to try and hold a conversation with Ena. That's right, and I'm reading your mental voice with empathy. Hold on a second. Nobody told me you could use empathy. Oh, I just learned. Don't tell me you falsified your ability level. No, that's not it at all. My ability's just been rapidly advancing these past few days. That shocked Ena, and it blurred her portrait. Does that mean she's closing herself off? She knows something about why Natsuhiko's been advancing the last few days. Okay. At that very moment, Natsuhiko clearly felt wariness from Ena. Professor, are you putting up your guard? When he tried using empathy. Nope. Ena's mental voice was coated with noise. Professor, are you closing your heart again? I have no idea what she's saying. Please wait! Professor! Professor! Natsuhiko tried to speak to her, but he could no longer hear Anna's mental voice. Damn it! Professor Tsubakiyama really does have a wall around her heart. Is there nobody we can trust? Considering how her heart was closed, perhaps it would be too dangerous to blindly trust her. Guess I've got no choice. Let's not count on Professor Tsubakiyama for now. Who else could we trust? Anno was suspect, and Kazumi, Jun, and Ukita were completely out of the question. So we gotta find Salu. It's gotta be Salu then. Natsuhiko focused his mind and sent telepathy to Salu. Salu, can you hear me? Answer me if you can. But when he tried to use empathy... Huh? There was no response from Salu. Maybe one of the others has her hostage. She was either out of Natsuhiko's empathy range, or... Don't tell me, she's been knocked out this whole time after falling from the staircase? That could be it. He didn't think Kazumi would attack her, but he felt Salu would be in danger if she were still unconscious. I gotta get to Salu, quick! The moment that thought crossed his mind, he suddenly heard a voice echo in his head. Natsuhiko. It sounded like telepathy coming from Mashiro. But she was supposed to have escaped. Yeah, that's what I've been wondering. Mashiro, why am I getting telepathy from you? Didn't you escape? Huh? A response? Or am I hearing things? You're not just hearing things. It's me. I'm using telepathy. Hang in there, Mashiro. What happened? I'm sorry. My head's all hazy. You see, I still haven't actually escaped from Labo. Did the cargo elevator go up or down? Why not? Weren't you able to escape through the cargo lift? Well, the lift did get to the surface level. But there was a wall or something blocking the way right outside the lift, so I couldn't get out. Natsuhiko's eyes widened at those words. Apparently, there was a bulkhead blocking the lift in the same way there were ones blocking the hallways past the emergency staircases. Was there never an escape route to begin with? But that's the same place we escaped through 9 years ago. Security apparently grew stricter since that incident. Not surprising. But the most worrying thing was that the cargo lift couldn't go down to the basement from the surface on its own. So that meant she'd been in a lift the whole time, unable to escape outside and return to the basement. Well, we've still got the lift control parts. Okay, Mashiro, I'll come save you right now. Yeah, thank you. Mashiro's telepathy cut out there. Natsuhiko deeply regretted his shallow planning. Even though he thought he had no other options, what he did still failed to get Mashiro out of there in the end. Even worse, it locked her up all alone for hours. I need to save her as soon as possible. The part that Natsuhiko had ripped out of the cargo lift control panel was still inside his pocket. That part could perhaps be used to repair the lift, but could Natsuhiko even get there with his body in that condition? No, I still need to go. I'll leave Salu up to Watase and go save Mashiro myself. Yuri, I'm sorry, but wait for me here. I'm going to go save Mashiro. No, bring her with! Huh? What? Not just Yuri, but Watase spoke up too. Look, Natsuhiko, I'm telling you can't be moving about on your own. You could open your wounds and die, you know? No, but... No buts. I know you're worried about your friends, but calm down and think straight for a second. If you want to search for that Mashiro girl, then I'll go in your stead. Watase spoke firmly, but what he said made sense. If Natsuhiko went to save Mashiro with his body in its current state, it could easily be double trouble. So, in the end, he had no choice but to rely on Watase, and give Mashiro the lowdown via telepathy before he gets there. Natsuhiko reluctantly asked him, "Okay then, Captain Kasasagi, please rescue Mashiro." "Of course, but I still don't know where she is. We've searched every corner of the facility and haven't found her." "Then have you checked inside the cargo lift?" "Inside the cargo lift?" Natsuhiko tried his best to act casual in response to the dubious look Watase shot him with. "Mashiro and I got separated in the factory. If she hasn't escaped, then it's highly possible she's inside the cargo lift. But the commander said that 3 high school students have yet to escape. If she escaped to the surface from the cargo lift, wouldn't the commander have her under their protection? No, if you think about how the bulkheads lowered above the emergency staircases, the same could be true for the cargo lift." "Ah, I see. Now that you mention it, you've got a point." Watase's eyes widened as that realization hit him. Natsuhiko nodded and continued. "So even if Mashiro managed to get to the surface floors with the lift, a bulkhead could still stop her in her tracks. So it's possible that she's been left behind there this entire time. That would explain why we haven't been able to find her so far. I can't think of any other places to look either, so I think it's worth a shot." And then, as if he had felt a sense of hope, Watase spoke out in a cheerful voice. "All right, then I'll try to repair the cargo lift and bring it back down here." "Please do." "All right, this might come in handy." Natsuhiko used that opportunity to bring the control panel part out of his pocket, with its torn cables and its up and down buttons. "I found this on the floor by the lift. It's probably a part of the control panel." "A part?" "This should be very suspicious," Watase. "I tried repairing the control panel with this, but I didn't have the skills to pull it off, so I put it in my pocket and forgot about it. But I thought you might be able to fix it." "Got it. I'll use this to try and repair the lift. But then again, if I go, that'll leave the two of you completely defenseless." "True." Natsuhiko looked around the room as he spoke. He soon noticed there was another keypad on the shelter side of the iron door. Typing the password into that keypad would probably open up the wall outside. "Okay then, Captain Kasasagi, can you destroy the password keypad when you get outside? If you do that, then nobody can get into this room unless we open it from the inside." "I see. That sounds like a plan. Okay, then I'll give you a signal when I'm back, so open it up for me on the inside, okay?" "Understood." Watase consented to Natsuhiko's plan and promptly exited the shelter. As Watase walked away, Yuri called out to him. Captain Kasasagi, thanks for everything." "Hey, come on, it's not over yet. I'll be back, so sit tight, you two." And with those parting words, Watase left the shelter. "Alright, Natsuhiko, send Mashiro telepathy now. Pursuer of Possibilities viewed 50% of scenes!" Oh god. I'm in the final route and I just got to 50%. Holy shit. Alright, I need to go to the bathroom. So I'll be back in a few minutes, guys. All right, back. And chat. All right, let's get to it. Natsuhiko heard Watase destroy the password keypad on the other side of the door. He then took a deep breath. Right after that, Yuri quietly spoke to him. Hikari, Captain Kasasagi really is our ally, huh? Yes, and you should inform Mashiro of that right now. Yeah, Mashiro should be safe now. Natsuhiko looked Yuri in the face as he spoke. But anyway, you really are Yuri, aren't you? Oh my god, tell Mashiro! He still couldn't believe she was alive. But now that Watase was gone, he felt he had to make sure again. She smiled and answered him. Yeah, it's me, Hikari. I'm no phantom nor an imposter. I'm the real Yuri Kotono. Her voice, her looks, her expressions and mannerisms were all the same as the Yuri he knew. Yuri held his hand and continued. See, Hikari? You can feel me, can't you? Yeah. A hallucination wouldn't have human warmth, right? Right. He could feel her warmth through her small hand. And finally, Natsuhiko was convinced. She's real. Yuri's alive. And with that thought in mind, Natsuhiko felt his whole face break out into a smile. But he couldn't stay happy for long. Natsuhiko vocalized the questions that he could by no means ignore. I know it might be odd for me to ask this, but... Well, how are you alive? Yuri's face froze as soon as that last word left Natsuhiko's lips. The memories he recalled just a few hours ago when he found those documents in his mother's office. They were so fresh in his mind and seemed to be the true reality. And it wasn't just his memory. According to Mashiro's memory, Yuri had died 9 years ago as well. Yuri had died 9 years as well, no ago. Natsuhiko couldn't think of a way to reconcile the contradictions. I thought you died here 9 years ago. What's the deal with that? That's... After a moment of severe hesitation, Yuri quietly answered. Actually, that was a lie fabricated by Labo. Huh? 9 years ago, Labo announced to the world that Yuri Kotono died as a result of the Labo fire. They lied to you and Mashiro, and my parents, the school, and the media too. What? Why would they do that? That's because this facility's been founded upon countless such lies, you see. A facility coated with lies everywhere. That's what Labo is. Natsuhiko was puzzled by her words. A facility coated with lies? What do you mean? Excuse me. Well, your mom's been lying to you about a bunch of stuff, Natsuhiko. I'll start with the biggest lie. You may have already realized this, but this isn't even a nuclear power research facility to begin with. It's a BC research facility. I knew it. Natsuhiko had already guessed that. But that affirmation only raised more questions. But the entire city believes that Labo is a nuclear research facility, right? So why would they make that lie? Because it's more convenient that everyone thinks that way. If they have the excuse that they're dealing with a nuclear reactor, nobody would question why their security is so strict, or why they're so strangely thorough with their information management, would they? True, I never questioned it either. So in other words, it was all a front, to hide what Labo was doing behind the scenes. So that's it. It would only be obvious for a nuclear power research facility to be secretive about its research. So using that false identity as a front would indeed be suitable for hiding something. Yeah, this is awesome, but tell Mashiro Watase's coming! However, but in that case, what exactly is Labo hiding? Natsuhiko posed that question out to Yuri. Does this facility really have a secret they'd need to go to such lengths to hide? The reason they falsified your death has something to do with it too, doesn't it? Yes. Please, Yuri, tell me, what happened 9 years... It's flashback time. No! Okay, this is actually going to be an interesting one, but what happened to you after that fire? What have you been doing, and where have you been all this time? Is it something you can't tell me? No, not at all, but it's too hard to explain in just a few words. Huh? It'll take a long time to tell you everything, and I'm not confident I can put it into words, so use empathy! Yuri grasped Natsuhiko's hand and continued. Dive into my mind and see it with your own eyes. But first tell Mashiro that Watase's coming. Huh? You can dive into people's memories by now, right? So if you use that ability to see my memories, you'll understand everything. It is flashback time. But won't it take a long time to go through 9 whole years of memories? It didn't take you long to go through Watase's memories. It'll be fine. When you watch people's memories, almost no time passes at all in the real world. Happens at the speed of thought. Now that she mentioned it, when he saw Mashiro's memories, he looked through them fairly leisurely, compared to how little time actually passed. In that case, it certainly would be faster to watch Yuri's memories firsthand, rather than talk it out. Besides, Natsuhiko himself wanted to know the detailed truth as soon as possible. Are you sure, Yuri? Are you really okay with me peeking into your mind? If it's you, then yes. I'm sure it'll be an uncomfortable truth, and you might start hating me for it. But I want you to know everything that I've experienced. Yuri softly shut her eyes. Her hands trembled slightly. Natsuhiko didn't get why she was so afraid. He didn't understand what she meant by, you might start hating me for it. But he steeled himself. He swore that no matter what he learned, he would not let it agitate him. Okay, I'm ready now. Go ahead. Natsuhiko grasped her hands tightly and focused his mind. Just then, his sight was engulfed in darkness. It was the same phenomenon that happened when he had dived into Mashiro's mind. Countless visions floated in the darkness. These are Yuri's memories. These were the memories of various scenes she had experienced in the past. Natsuhiko gently peeked into the oldest memory. A case N has just been detected. 7/7/2021. In accordance with this emergency, security has shifted to blockade mode. Locking down all gates and bulkheads. What do we do, Hikarin? I'm scared. Don't cry, Yuri. I'll do something. Natsuhiko found himself standing in the midst of fire. Is this 9 years ago? It was the day Yuri and Natsuhiko had sneaked into Labo. Natsuhiko was watching the memory of when they were trapped in Area 5, but through Yuri's eyes. Excuse me. They fled into a nearby room as the fires drew close. Heart of darkness. But the smoke and the heat had sapped Yuri's body of its energy. Natsuhiko looked at her with tears welling in his eyes. I'm sorry, Yuri. It's all because I took you with me. I tried to act cool and say I'd save Mom. But I couldn't, and now I got you trapped in this mess. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It wrenched Yuri's heart to hear those words. So she gently wiped away his tears. It's okay, Hikarin. It's because you're always trying your hardest for everyone else. I loved that about you. So I'm glad that you stayed with me until the end. Yuri. Natsuhiko embraced Yuri. But she could no longer feel his touch or the numbness of her own body. As her consciousness faded, only one thing remained in Yuri's mind. Please, God, I don't care what happens to me, but if you can save at least one of us, Please save Hikarin. And as if in response to her prayer, Yuri heard a voice beside her ear. Someone come save us. We're in Dr. Tenkawa's room. No, it wasn't beside her ear. It sounded like it was echoing directly inside her head. Telepathy? Hikarin used telepathy. But even that thought of hers began to disappear. As her sight and hearing faded, Yuri heard another voice. Hiko! Natsuhiko! Yuri too. Mom! Thank goodness you're safe. I came here to save you. Let's take Yuri and get out of here. And right after she barely managed to hear the professor yelling, everything went dark and she died. Yuri lost consciousness. And after who knew how long? Yuri. Yuri woke up at the sound of her name. When she opened her eyes, she saw Dr. Tenkawa. Thank goodness you're awake. Huh? What? What happened to me? You don't remember? After you got caught in a fire in Labo, you were asleep for an entire day. Only the one day, huh? Yuri looked around. She appeared to be in a hospital room, but Natsuhiko was nowhere to be seen. Where's Hikarin? But without answering Yuri's question, the professor asked her a question of her own. By the way, Yuri, I'm sorry for asking this right after you've woke up, but can I get you to take a little test with me? A test? We need to make sure your body hasn't developed any problems. You two were bombarded with hazardous particles, you see. Yuri didn't know what hazardous particles were, and her head felt a little groggy, but she answered obediently nonetheless. Okay. Afterwards, Yuri underwent various tests. They took blood and urine samples and put her inside a giant machine to take pictures of what was inside her head. At first, Dr. Tenkawa seemed the same as usual, but as the tests progressed, the look on her face froze over. Yuri's IGF-2R gene is type S. Dr. Tenkawa perused the test results on a PDA as she spoke with someone who appeared to be an assistant. That's impossible. Are you sure there's no mistake? We've redone the test several times, and it's turned out type S each time. No, it couldn't be. The professor turned to Yuri with a serious look on her face and asked her a question. Yuri, what was your BC aptitude? They've measured you in school, right? It's C. As the professor sunk into silence, her assistant whispered into her ear. It's exactly as she says. All of her past examination results have recorded her IGF-2R gene as type C. Hold it right there. You mean to say her gene mutated? Even the look on the assistant's face changed when she said that last word. Yuri, can you try using telepathy for me? Huh? But I haven't been able to use telepathy yet. That's what I thought, but please, try. Focus on something you want to tell me. Anything. It was hard to think of something on the spot like that, but Yuri did as she was told. I've never used telepathy before, but... let's see. Does it look like Hikarin will be okay? The professor audibly gasped, and at the same time, Yuri felt something strange as well. It felt completely different from all the times she had tried and failed to use telepathy before. It was almost like the thought she had weaved inside her head had spewed out. Yuri, you're worried about Natsuhiko, aren't you? Yeah. The professor responded to Yuri's question. The question she only thought of inside her head. Okay then, now I'll think of the answer to your questions inside my head. Man, this is a stern-ass look on her face. Use BC to try and read that answer. Huh? But isn't that empathy? Please, just try it. But why? I can't pull that off. Masharon said hardly any kids out there can use empathy. But even so, Yuri focused hard to try and read the professor's mind. And soon enough, Yuri heard a voice echoing inside her head. Natsuhiko's sleeping in another hospital room. There's no need to worry. This time Yuri was surprised for sure. The professor hadn't moved her mouth at all, and yet Yuri heard her voice. Did she discover that Yuri had become some top-grade communicator and keeper from experiments? Is the professor that evil? Yeah, I expected that she was unscrupulous. Very unscrupulous, and she's a shitty mom, so I'm not surprised at the twist that she took Yuri and hid her for 9 years in a lab. But yeah, that is pretty awful of her. Her mental voice. Yuri relayed what she heard from that voice back to the professor. Hikarin's sleeping? That's right. That's exactly right. The assistant spoke up mere moments after the professor had just barely managed to wring those words out. Professor, could this be? It's hard to believe, but it appears she's rapidly begun to demonstrate use of both telepathy and empathy. This is the most excited I've ever seen her. There's no room for doubt here. She's an acquired rank S aptitude communicator. An RSAC for short. But how did this happen? During the accident, the WX particle energy in Area 5 reached a maximum of 9,500 MSV, which damaged her gene and caused it to reconstruct itself to best suit its environment. That is not how radiation damage works. That's not how genes work. But I never expected a theoretical phenomenon like that to be realized in such a fashion. Then do you mean the same happened to the boy that was with her? I cannot rule out that possibility. The professor looked at Yuri and spoke in a low voice. I'm sorry, Yuri, but please wait in this room for a little while. I need to go do some tests with Natsuhiko too. Was something wrong? Normally, I'd say these were good results, but... Anyway, I'll be back soon. And with that, Dr. Tenkawa and her assistant left the room. Left all alone, Yuri suddenly felt scared. Even an easygoing person like her could tell that things were about to get out of hand somehow. Oh, we're going to be trapped in flashback memories for like an hour and a half, aren't we? Several hours later, Yuri was waiting patiently in the hospital room. But Dr. Tenkawa still hadn't come back, leaving Yuri in the dark as to Natsuhiko's condition. As she waited in the silence, she eventually heard a commotion outside the hospital room. It was the sound of many footsteps, the night she died. People were swiftly approaching her hospital room. Huh? What? The footsteps were rough and violent, which scared Yuri a little. The patient in this room? Yeah. The hospital directors come to an agreement. There are no other patients in this ward. Please proceed freely. Whispers could be heard from in front of the room. Just then, a pitter-patter of rushing footsteps added to the cacophony. Suddenly, a new voice yelled out. Hey, what do you people think you're doing? It was Dr. Tenkawa's voice. Yuri felt a little relieved. She was still scared. She didn't want to go check out the situation outside for herself. Mr. Araguchi, what is the meaning of this? What pushed you to mobilize Security Sector 6? Orders from above. Effective today, henceforth, Yuri Kotono has been registered as Labo's 4th test subject. What? This must be some sort of joke. She's a friend of my son. That's a statement unbefitting of a senior fellow, Miyoko Tenkawa, the very brains of Labo. The girl is a rank S communicator, an extreme rarity across the globe. And you're well aware of just how dangerous such a being is, I assume? You plan to make my own son into a test subject too, don't you? But of course. We cannot allow our emotions as individuals to take precedence over reason and simply leave these beings to their own devices. Don't give me that garbage. I bet Anna is with the security people. Ignoring what just happened the other day, Labo's ethics are clearly lacking as of late. If this continues, I'll have to file a report to the ESP Bureau, you know? You are aware that you can't do that, correct? Not if you consider your son's safety. A heavy silence fell upon them. Eventually, Dr. Tenkawa muttered in a stifled voice. Yuri's still in no condition to move due to the after effects of the fire. I feel that transporting her to Labo will be too great of a burden on her body. Mr. Araguchi, go home today and take your Security Sector 6 people with you. Well, fine. We'll let you save face for today, Dr. Tenkawa. Excuse me. I'll be back. And with those words, the sound of several footsteps faded into the distance. Once Yuri could no longer hear them, the hospital door opened and Dr. Tenkawa came in. Professor. Yuri. The professor smiled weakly as she walked on over to Yuri. Did you hear that conversation just now? Yeah, but there were so many things I didn't understand. Have things gotten difficult? Perhaps. The professor sighed deeply. Please tell me. What happened to us? The professor remained silent for a while before speaking with a resigned tone of voice. Yuri, as a result of the accident, your genetic code mutated, as did Natsuhiko's. Genetic code? What's that? I'm 9 years old. It's what dictates the composition of your body, like a blueprint, so to speak. One of the genes in your genetic code, the IGF-2R gene, a gene that relates to BC usage, was damaged and reconstructed due to the particles that were spreading inside the facility. Your BC aptitude rose from rank C to rank S. Maybe Anna works for the government trying to find evidence of Labo going rogue. Oh, there's a good idea. Despite how aptitude normally remains constant throughout one's lifetime. Yuri is so confused. Yuri stared blankly. She didn't quite understand what the professor was saying. The professor then continued. Remember how we did tests to see if you could use BC this afternoon? Yes. You were able to use telepathy and empathy without any practice. Those results said it all. You became a world-class communicator. Huh? It's unprecedented. And yet, it wasn't just you. Natsuhiko likewise mutated into rank S aptitude. His ability rose accordingly as well. Currently, only I can attest to his ability, but during the fire, Natsuhiko used telepathy, you see? Yes. But because of those results, Labo now has their eyes on you. Excuse me. They're going to incarcerate both you and Natsuhiko inside of Labo. Incarcerate? She is 9 years old. They're going to lock you up and make you into a test subject for BC research. Labo isn't actually a nuclear power research facility, but a BC research facility. Likewise, I don't conduct nuclear power research, but BC research. I'm a central personage of the organization. And yet, I never expected that my own son and his friend would have to be incarcerated. Yeah, I think we shouldn't give her very much credit, because she's upset not because they're incarcerating people to experiment on them, but because it's people she knows and cares about. So yeah, I'd put her as a pretty bad person. It wasn't. I wonder if she's going to get Yuri to tell people that she was the one who called out with telepathy instead of Natsuhiko, so that she can hide Natsuhiko's aptitude and pretend he still sucks. It wasn't as if Yuri understood everything the professor was saying, but she did understand some of it. When she and Natsuhiko were cornered by the fire in Labo, she felt as if she had heard Natsuhiko's telepathy, but it turns out she hadn't been hearing things after all. The two of them had been reborn as elite communicators, and as a result, they would have to live the rest of their lives locked away. Can't you get them to stop it? I'm sorry. I know it must be hard to understand why, but there are reasons why I can't. Because it is indeed true that the abilities you two have gained are dangerous. Dr. Tenkawa answered painfully. But if there were no other way, then... Professor? Huh? Do they need to lock both of us up? What do you mean? Yuri stated her own thoughts as the professor looked on confused, having a very smart plan for a 9-year-old. If I go to Labo willingly, can they let Hikarin stay free in return? That might be possible. Thank you for giving me the idea, small child who I'm about to condemn to years of experimentation. Fortunately, Natsuhiko hasn't awakened yet. As long as he's still unaware of the circumstances, then maybe... But are you sure, Yuri? I'm sure. Because Hikarin saved me. So now it's my turn. That was the moment Yuri decided her own fate. Two days later, when Yuri was transferred to Labo, Dr. Tenkawa informed her of the news. I've told Natsuhiko that you died in the fire. I see. From now on, Natsuhiko will be placed under surveillance by both Labo and government agencies as a special observation target. You shall be incarcerated in Labo, and Natsuhiko shall live within society. By comparing how you two communicators develop, we can gain valuable data. I somehow managed to convince the higher-ups using that pretext. But on one condition they have is that once Natsuhiko surpasses a certain ability level, he will immediately be transferred here. That would be a desirable result for Yuri, but Hikarin loves it outside. Because he's got lots of friends, so it'd be so sad if he got locked up inside. The professor spoke to Yuri as she had that thought. Yuri, if you want, maybe we really should keep Natsuhiko with you. No, it's okay. Yuri smiled at the professor. But instead, can I ask for just one thing? What is it? Please let me see him, even just once in a while. Even just once a year, please. That's all I ask. I don't think that's possible, I promise. The professor's words softly shook the surrounding air. I don't think that's how you can describe soft words. That memory left Natsuhiko at a loss for words. Hey, what the hell's this? It was a truth far beyond his expectations. Labo tried to incarcerate us as test subjects? Not just Yuri, but me too? And Yuri sacrificed her freedom for my sake? Even though his own senses were supposed to have faded away, he could have sworn he felt his heart pounding like an alarm bell. Then, what happened to Yuri afterwards? As that thought crossed Natsuhiko's mind, more and more visions floated before his eyes. Yuri's life turned upside down after that. Labo became her new residence, and her lifestyle now revolved around experiments. Hang on, I need to check something. Excuse me. Okay. Labo became her new residence, and her lifestyle now revolved around experiments. In one of Labo's laboratories, the professor gazed at Yuri and spoke. Ma'in, the demon. Hang on, I haven't saved in a while. Excuse me. Okay. Okay, so, question for you, Shy. I have 2 days open still this month, the 28th and the 30th, and I have you scheduled for the 29th as well. Do you want to take one of those days and we call it here? Because I don't feel particularly great. Because this seems like a good scene break. Take the 28th if we can move it up to 3 p.m. Perfect. 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 Yeah, 3 p.m. on the 28th. Cool. I just saved. I'm going to save again to be sure. That's where we're going to end for today. My schedule coming up. Tomorrow will be Yakuza 0 for a patron. Tuesday will be Ogre Battle 64 for a patron. Wednesday and Thursday will be Root Double Before Crime After Days. Friday will be a day off for me to do other stuff. Saturday will be Final Fantasy XIV, and I haven't got September's schedule yet. So, that's going to be it for today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching. I will see you next time.